The sirens were so loud they rattled my chest, but the gate wouldn't move. Red lights bounced off the wet pavement, flashing across my truck, my hands gripping the wheel hard enough to hurt. My baby had stopped crying 5 minutes ago. That silence, it was the worst sound I'd ever heard in my life. "Come on, open the damn gate!" I screamed into the intercom. Static hissed. Then her voice came through slow, smug calm, like this was just another HOA complaint. "Jack, you know the rules," she said. "After-hours access must be approved by the board." I yelled that my daughter wasn't breathing. She didn't flinch. She just stood there in her raincoat clipboard under her arm like she was guarding a kingdom. The paramedics shouted that every second mattered. My wife screamed in the back seat holding our baby, and Denise just folded her arms. That was it. I jumped out, ran through the rain, and fired up the bulldozer I'd been using for a drainage job. The smell of diesel filled the air. When the metal hit the gate, the sound was like thunder. Once, twice. The bars snapped and the ambulance roared through. Denise just stood there, rain plastering her perfect hair to her face, eyes wide. When the cops showed up minutes later, she pointed at me like I was the criminal. "You'll regret this," she said. I looked right back and told her, "If my daughter dies because of you, I'll regret not doing it sooner." But that wasn't even the worst thing she'd done. 3 years earlier, I moved into Maple Ridge Estates, thinking it was the kind of place where you could finally breathe. After years in the Army, I wanted peace. Just me, my wife, and our baby girl walking under oak trees instead of hearing alarms or gunfire. I built houses for a living, foundations, drainage systems, solid things that last. The HOA seemed fine at first, strict sure, but harmless. Denise Caldwell. Yeah, the same woman who blocked the ambulance was president. The first time we met, she was on my porch before I'd even unpacked a box, clipboard in hand. "Welcome to Maple Ridge," she said, eyes scanning my yard like a drone. "Just a few notes about compliance." That was the first warning. I didn't realize then she'd make my life hell over trash cans, work trucks, and neighborhood aesthetics. Every week it was a new violation. Your trash cans are visible from the street. Your truck is too loud. You left a shovel out overnight. I tried to keep calm, I really did. But the way she talked down to me, sweet voice, hard eyes, it was like she enjoyed watching me swallow my temper. Ryan Holt lived across the street, firefighter, good guy. We'd had a few beers together when I first moved in. He was on the HOA board, though, which made him cautious. Every time Denise picked a fight, I'd look to him hoping he'd step in, but he'd just look away. Couldn't blame him. I guess we were all scared of crossing her. One afternoon, after she'd fined me for noise disturbance at 9:30 a.m., I marched over to Ryan's place. "She's out of control," I said. "You saw it." He rubbed his neck, eyes down. "She's just doing her job, man." That phrase, "just doing her job," burned through me. I told him, "You keep saying that until it's your family she hurts." He didn't respond. I walked away, knowing I was on my own. Then came the night that changed everything. Rain hammered the street. My wife was in the back seat, our baby limp in her arms. I was white-knuckled on the steering wheel as the ambulance lights flickered behind me. The gate loomed ahead, 10 feet of black iron and bureaucracy. I hit the intercom. Nothing. Tried again. Access denied, the system said. I could see her through the bars. Denise, standing there, clipboard ready like always. "Please," I shouted. "She's not breathing." She said, "You've been warned about keeping equipment on the property line, Jack. Maybe next time you'll follow the rules." I don't remember deciding to start the bulldozer. I just remember the sound of the gate breaking and the look on her face when she realized I wasn't bluffing. When it was over and the ambulance sped past, I didn't feel triumph, just exhaustion, fear, and the sick knowledge that she would make me pay for it. The next week she did. HOA meeting. Denise sitting at the head of the table like a queen. When she called my name, it wasn't to thank me for saving my child's life, it was to shame me. "Mr. Parker's property destruction will not be tolerated," she said, all fake sympathy and venom. The neighbors whispered. Nobody asked why the gate was closed in the first place. Nobody wanted trouble. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark staring at the fine notice, $5,000 for community damage. My hands shook with rage. But under that anger there was something worse doubt. Maybe I had gone too far. Maybe I was the problem. I almost convinced myself to pay the fine and move on. Then Ryan showed up at my door. He looked pale, nervous. "I saw her that night," he said quietly. "She toggled the override. She locked the gate on purpose." It hit me like a punch. "Why?" I asked. He shook his head. "She wanted to teach you a lesson." Something inside me snapped back into place. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. She'd done it deliberately. Ryan was scared, though. "If I speak up, they'll remove me from the board," he said. "They'll ruin me." "Then help me get proof," I told him. We started digging, literally and digitally. I combed through gate access logs while Ryan used his clearance to check the internal systems. The logs were spotless, too spotless. No errors, no timestamps, missing nothing. Then one night Ryan texted, "She erased them. Twice." That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to roll over. I grabbed my jacket and went to the gatehouse myself. Inside, the monitors glowed like ghosts. I found the footage from that night, and there she was, Denise Green, walking in, entering her code, locking the gate, and wiping the logs. Watching that footage made my hands shake. I texted Ryan. We got her. But the war was only beginning. 2 days later, a new envelope showed up in my mailbox. Final notice. They were going to tow my work truck, the one I needed to keep food on the table. I stormed to Ryan's porch, waving the letter. "She's trying to push me out," I shouted. Ryan looked torn. "It's more than that," he said. "She's got the board in her pocket." That night she showed up in person. Black SUV, perfect posture, clipboard gleaming under the porch light. "Evening, Jack," she said smoothly. "I see you received your notice. I do hope you'll comply before escalation." I could barely keep my voice steady. "I'm not moving my truck." Her smile didn't budge. "Then the authorities will." She turned to Ryan, who'd come out when he heard us. "Ryan, make sure it's handled properly." His face went pale. She didn't even acknowledge the fact that she'd almost killed my kid. I watched her drive away and made a decision I was done playing by her rules. Ryan met me at an old warehouse that weekend. He looked different, like the fear had finally burned off. He handed me a folder. Inside were emails, financial statements, meeting minutes, and right on top an email chain between Denise and the gate security company, "Deny emergency access for the following residents." My name was first on the list. "She's not just power hungry," Ryan said. "She's stealing from everyone. HOA fines are going into personal accounts." It felt unreal, like something out of a movie. The HOA wasn't a community, it was a racket. "We take it to the cops," I said. Ryan nodded, but I could see the hesitation. "They're connected, Jack. If we do this, we go all in." So we did. We started talking to neighbors. Some were scared, others furious. One guy said his disabled sister was fined for adding a wheelchair ramp. Another family got charged maintenance fees for repairs that never happened. It was a pattern extortion dressed up as community enforcement. When we finally went public, we didn't whisper. We brought a reporter. She set up a camera right there on the street while I laid out the folder. "This is what happens when power goes unchecked," I said. The story spread like wildfire. The county inspector called within hours. Denise reacted by posting a furious defamation notice online threatening lawsuits. But the tide had turned. People were done being afraid. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. Denise sat at the head table, face tight, voice brittle. When I walked in, the murmurs stopped. She tried to start the agenda like nothing was wrong. "Community harmony," she said. I laughed out loud. I stood up, folder in hand. "You talk about harmony," I said, "but what you really mean is obedience. You locked an ambulance out, you stole from your neighbors, and you lied about it all." I slammed the documents on the table. "Here's your harmony." Ryan stepped forward next. His voice shook, but he spoke anyway. "I saw the logs. I saw the footage. Denise locked that gate herself." The room erupted, people shouting, demanding answers. Denise's mask cracked. "These are fabrications," she snapped. But one by one, neighbors stood up. An older man near the back said, "My wife died waiting for an ambulance that never made it through that gate." The room went silent. You could feel the air shift. The county investigator walked in, then badge visible. He'd seen the broadcast. Mrs. Green. He said we need you to come with us." For once she didn't have a clipboard, just shaking hands. When they let her out, she tried to look composed, but her face was gray. The neighbors watched in silence. No cheering, no satisfaction, just relief. The monster had been real, and now it was gone. I walked outside into the rain, the same spot where this all started. The broken gate was still there, rusted and half buried in mud. For months that gate had been her symbol of control. Now it was just scrap metal. Ryan came up beside me, quiet. Neither of us said anything for a while. I looked at the twisted bars and thought about everything we'd lost to people like her Time Peace Trust. Control isn't always about power. Sometimes it's just fear wearing a nice coat. And the thing about fear is it only rules you if you let it.